Most of us are not thinking as clearly as we believe we are, and that's dangerous because bad thinking bends reality around false beliefs, and decisions made on false beliefs create real consequences. But here's the good news. You can train your brain to think better. And according to cognitive scientist Steven Pinker, there's a method, a series of mental habits anyone can build, regardless of IQ or education, that lead to better choices, sharper thinking, and clearer communication. Today, you'll learn 4 of them. They might seem simple at first, but they reveal deep flaws in how we think. Part 1. Practice critical thinking. Let's start with a hard truth. You are constantly being misled, not always by other people, sometimes by your own brain. From clickbait headlines to political sound bites to everyday conversations, you're bombarded with claims that sound true. But how often do you stop and ask, is this actually real? Most people don't, because critical thinking isn't our default setting. Emotion grabs us first, and the result? We accept things without even realizing it, shaping beliefs around half-truths, flawed logic, and gut feelings dressed up as facts. Steven Pinker warns us that this isn't just a cognitive error, it's a cultural crisis. When enough people stop questioning what they hear, we don't just make bad decisions individually, we decay collectively. So, what is critical thinking? It's the art of deliberate skepticism, the habit of slowing down just enough to ask, what's the source of this claim? Is there evidence or just strong language? Could there be another explanation I'm missing? It's not about being negative, it's about being precise. Pinker frames it as a kind of mental hygiene. You wash your hands to avoid infection. You question your assumptions to avoid delusion. Start small. The next time you hear something that triggers an immediate emotional response, pause. Instead of reacting, ask, what's actually being said here? Most bad ideas don't survive 5 minutes under real scrutiny, but we rarely give them that test. Train yourself to be the person who does, because the world doesn't need more opinions, it needs more thinking. Part 2. Improve your writing. Here's something most people don't know. If you can't write clearly, you probably can't think clearly either. Steven Pinker, who literally wrote a book on writing, argues that writing is thinking. It's the place where your thoughts become real. But here's the twist. When you sit down to explain something, you'll often discover you don't understand it as well as you thought you did. Ever tried to describe a complex idea and suddenly found yourself stumbling over your words? That moment of confusion? That's your brain revealing its clutter. Writing forces you to clean that up. It makes you confront the fog, organize it, clarify it. It's not just an output. It's a tool for inputting clarity into your own mind. But we avoid it. Why? Because writing feels hard. Because it exposes the gaps in our understanding. And that is exactly why you should do it. Try this. Take an idea you think you understand, a news event, a belief, a scientific concept, and write 1 paragraph explaining it as simply and clearly as possible. No fluff, no jargon, just clarity. You'll notice 2 things. First, how quickly your brain resists. Second, how satisfying it is when you finally get it right. This practice doesn't just improve your communication, it rewires your thinking, and it reinforces our first lesson, because explaining something clearly demands evidence, structure, and logic. The very things critical thinking thrives on. It's all connected. Writing isn't about showing off what you know, it's about discovering what you don't and fixing it. Part 3. Learn the basics of statistics and probability. You've probably heard phrases like 1 in 5, risk doubles, or a 60% chance. But here's the question most people never ask. What does that actually mean for me? This is where thinking often breaks down. Not because we don't care, but because our brains are terrible at understanding probability. We panic over tiny risks and ignore massive ones. We treat coincidence as causation. We're wired to feel numbers, not understand them. And the result? Bad decisions in life, in money, in health. Steven Pinker says that without a basic grasp of statistics, even smart people fall for nonsense. It's not about being a math genius. It's about having just enough knowledge to stop and say, wait, does this number really say what it claims to say? For example, if a drug cuts your risk in half, but that risk was 2 in 10,000 to begin with, your new risk is 1 in 10,000. Statistically, not that big of a deal. Emotionally, it feels huge. The fix? Learn just enough to decode what you hear. Understand what an average is, what a margin of error means, what a real difference looks like, and what's just noise. When you learn to read numbers like a language, the world starts to shift. You don't just accept claims, you interrogate them. You see through marketing spin. You sense when someone is using data to persuade rather than inform. And most importantly, you learn to weigh risks the way a rational mind would, not perfectly, but more honestly. Part 4. Embrace intellectual humility. Now here's the hardest part, the one most of us avoid. It's not about knowledge, or logic, or facts. It's about ego. Ask yourself, when was the last time you genuinely changed your mind? Not just about something small like a movie you didn't like, but about something that challenged your identity, your beliefs, your worldview. Most people can't name a time, because admitting we were wrong feels like weakness. But Pinker flips that. He says, changing your mind when presented with new, reliable information isn't weakness, it's strength, and it's rare, because we cling to our ideas like lifeboats, even when they're sinking. This is where intellectual humility comes in. It's the discipline of asking, what if I'm wrong? It's the courage to say, I don't know. It's the grace to let go of outdated beliefs, not because you lost an argument, but because you gained clarity. And here's the twist. Without this step, none of the others matter. Critical thinking? Pointless if you refuse to update your assumptions. Writing? Empty if you only write to defend your biases. Stats? Useless if you cherry-pick them to fit your narrative. Humility ties it all together. Because the goal isn't just to think better, it's to be better, wiser, more open, more accurate. And when you let go of the need to be right, you become free to discover what is right. That's where transformation begins. Steven Pinker's approach isn't flashy. It's not some viral hack. It's a quiet revolution, a way to think that builds over time. And the more you practice it, the more you'll notice the fog lifting. Conversations get clearer. Decisions feel grounded. Your beliefs evolve, not because you gave up, but because you leveled up. That's the real reward. A mind that doesn't just run, but thinks. So start today. Your brain is ready if you are.